Millions of people love books, millions of people love games. However, not so many people love game books, which is rather sad. I had loads of game books growing up, although they were more kid-orientated. Obviously, usually when people think of game books, they think of things like these Dungeons and Dragons brand books, which are obviously a tie into the famous role-playing game. I have not actually played that game, but this is basically meant to be a normal quest that you can just choose your own path to. Actually, this is actually a very simplistic version of a game book. I've seen ones that require like dice and score sheets and everything. So, but yeah, these were started out in the 80s, possibly to compete with the video game market. And they were all sort of marketed towards adult audiences. In the late 80s and 90s, they started printing sort of thinner and shorter game books for children, which were more heavily illustrated as well. I only have one example of such a game book still with me. This one, Osbourne's Map and Maze Puzzles. But yeah, this is what most puzzle books were like in my days. They were either printed by Usborne or Walker, I believe, were the two biggest distributors. So you'd have a short narration that would explain the plot, framing the puzzles, and the puzzles would be presented in these rather nicely illustrated designs. As you can see, this one sort of jumps around several periods of history. You have Aztecs, Noirs, Egyptian, that sort of thing. But anyway, that's sort of the level we're doing. However, Osbourne did a far more interesting and slightly easier, only slightly, game book series called Solve It Yourself Mysteries, and they were sort of a break from the norm. Instead of having painted illustrations, they would actually stage photographs which you'd have to find the clues yourself to. Anyway, this is a compilation of 3 of the books. There were 6 in the series, and then they condensed them down into 3 episode books. So yes, the first episode of this sextuplet of intrigue is Whatever Happened to Professor Potts. So you can sort of see what we're looking at here. We have a photograph of his, what I assume is the detective's desk, and as I can say, there's been a meticulous effort to just throw everything about in a sort of ordered way. Now, one thing they didn't photograph was words, because obviously they don't turn up well on camera, as I'm probably demonstrating here. So instead, I think what they did was they just photographed blank labels and blank sheets of paper and sort of layered the text on with a computer, which, given that these were made in, what, 95 to 2000, I think, was the print run for this, and so that would have been quite difficult to do, I believe, with the editing technology of that day, but they've done it really well. It only slips up a couple of times. So what's the story of this one? Well, as you can see, an organisation called the Potts Foundation has explained that their founder, Professor Potts, hence why it's the Potts Foundation, had gone missing while exploring the jungles of a fictional place called Very Sweaty. Yeah, that sort of punny humour. And because it's an undercover investigation, you have to go to an inconspicuous office building to start your investigation. And yes, as you can see, so you arrive after a party and have to. Well, what do you have to do here? You're given a message with a series of bugs, but it's all very nonsensical. On your way from under the messier's desk, go in the building, eat plenty of dates, the key, take the box home to a friend. However, so what you have to do is you have to take the cards and order the cards according to the numbers, and that series of insects correspond to the correct passages which make the actual message. Confused yet? So the result of that is you have a key that you need to find on this desk. And again, I don't know why I like this so much, but clearly I did, because I bought the entire collection off of eBay, so clearly it just struck with me. I suppose because it feels a bit more realistic than just following illustrations. Because of course you have photo casebooks in real life. It's an observation puzzle. It's in The key you're looking for is inside a box of dates. So which box do you think it could be? Well, I'm not telling you. Hopefully you'll be able to see the answer on screen. Oh, then you have another code thing to solve. So yeah, there are quite, so yeah, there's not a great range of puzzles, mainly observation and code cracking, I believe, which were things I'm really psychotically into. I have so many issues. Anyway, oh, and of course you have dead bodies. That's a dead body, yeah, for the kids, you know. It was very nice. So I've just realised this is meant to be taking place inside an exotic plants depot, and I think they've tried their hardest to make the plants look exotic, because they've put stickers all over one of them, and they've cut out letters with a hole punch on another. Attention to detail. I really think they've clearly put a lot of work into this now. So, what are we looking at now? The search for clues. Well, I think you get the idea. That there's always going to be one thing in particular to look out for, but because it is a very cluttered a mess, you have a lot of red herrings to search for, and it's not always obvious. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly take you through the other 5 books in this series. Anyway, after filling out your missing persons report, you then have to work out who stole the black diamond. Possibly noir-inspired tale in which you have to search for the heirloom of a dead count, which was apparently stolen on its way to a museum. So yes, this is another code. You have to work out which of these labels corresponds to the dead benefactor. Because this one does throw you out on a lot of loops. It's one of those mysteries where everybody you meet has a motive for stealing the diamond. There is actually a nice twist to as to where the black diamond is, but I'm not going to spoil it. I don't know why, because it's very hard to get hold of copies of these books, so you're not likely to read it. But I like to keep an air of mystery. After that, we have our first instance of going back in time to the 1700s. In fact, because we have a piracy-themed mystery next in Where is the Pirate's Treasure? Your mission is to find Captain Black-Eye's... Oh no, so I'm not doing this right, am I? Your mission is to find Captain Black-Eye's lost treasure by following the clues throughout the adventure. But beware, you're about to enter a world of pirates, buried treasure, dastardly deeds, and double crosses. And actually, as it points out here, only half of this story is set in the 1780s. The action then jumps forward to the 1980s as you be one of the team of marine archaeologists trying to track down the missing treasure today. Weird. They don't explain that time travel mechanic, which I think is a bit of a cheat, because why would a marine biologist in the 80s have knowledge of someone from the 18th century? I mean, they couldn't have been there. Are we crossing reincarnations or something? Maybe. So yes, and it's all still with photographs. They try to use they try to be as accurate as possible. Although I have to admit, if you look over here, having to use a stuffed toy to represent a real-life mouse does sort of break the immersion a little bit. But again, it's all to be forgiven. I don't know what sort of budget Osbourne put into this. Oh yeah, they do cheat as well by coming up with reasons to have photographs in time periods that don't particularly have photographs. Apparently, Captain Black-Eye was a pioneering photographer. In fact, he practically invented photography without anyone knowing. Anyway, just to give you a quick flash forward to what the 80s bits look like. Yes, this is where we come to the 80s, or possibly the 90s as it's the present. Yeah, only the 90s would have these bright colours, wouldn't they? Yeah, so that's that. That's the end of the first book. Turn tape over. Anyway, our second collection of photo stories is in a much more pleasing to the eye look, as in it doesn't try to stab you in the eye with a load of colour like this mishmash. Oh, blimey. I'm not being unfair, but anyway, the first one is another historical set in the Wild West. Well, I'd like to say I'm a fan of the Wild West, but I think it's just Stockholm syndrome from all the Western films my grandfather watched. Still watches, actually. So yes, it's the 1890s, and the sheriff of a small town called Morgan's Gulch has been shot with a bullet hole in his hat. Fortunately, he wasn't wearing it at the time. Ho ho ho. And you've been sent to replace him and find out the culprit in a town that seemingly has no guns or crime. Yes, Sheriff Goodhorn's one of those sheriffs. It's this one looks kind of camp. I'm not going to be honest. I mean, I've seen Western films, and there's always been a sort of homoerotic subtext to them, but I don't know, the garish colours that you may have noticed in the previous books sort of carries over to this one, and also trying to find artifacts current to the 1890s may have been a bit much, because a couple of them do seem to be replaced with toys. Not here though. This is a very nice representation of a barroom, and also very rare, an actual person in the shot. It's not just a series of still life. That's nice. And a pair of big sexy boots. Yeah, this is what I mean. You sort of have these brightly coloured books with fluorescent decals on them. I doubt anyone worth his salt in 1891 Arizona would actually have that on his desk. So yeah, it's very simple. Who shot him? Do you know? Actually, the ending to this one isn't as satisfying as the others. I'm not gonna lie. And now we have a horror-themed adventure in Who's Haunting the House of Horror. Oh, the last one was called Who Shot the Sheriff, by the way, but I didn't mention it earlier because I can't get the song out of my head if I do. So yes, Who's Haunting the House of Horror? You are an apprentice to the famous ghost hunter Professor Fang. Yeah, you never heard of Professor Fang? By the way, did I mention the credits? The masterminds behind this seems to be Phil Roxby Cox. He's the he's a consistent name throughout this. The photography was done by a woman named Sue Atkinson, and congratulations to her because I really love the photography in this. Rupert Heath also is the writer for most of this, I believe, and Gabby Waters was a series editor. Just so you know who to send flowers to. Now, who's haunting the House of Horror? Well, obviously this is going to be a sort of Scooby-Doo thing where no one's actually haunting anything. Or is it? I'm not going to say any more than that. But yeah, this is set in England, I think. I don't know where most of these things are set. I don't even know if this is produced in Britain or America, but obviously the professor believes this sort of thing is real, and we're sent to this weird paranormal shop, which doesn't look like any shop I've ever been to, and that saddens me. And of course, what's the going for this one? Oh, you have to look up the codes to see what you're purchasing. Sorry, that's kind of a boring one. Yeah, this one's kind of pants too. Can you spot the clue as to what's going on? Maybe it's the only item with any writing on it. So yes, it's all very stylized, which is what horror films in the 80s were. They were all very stylized and dramatic, and well, I kind of like this shot with the marble headstone and the roses, all kind of nice. Anyway, that's enough of this one. What's the final one? The final one, in possibly one of the most ambitious of the stories yet, takes place in medieval times. Who is the prisoner of Portcullis Castle? And this one does have a big twist, and I can't give much away. Just say there's someone very unexpected on the suspect list, let's put it that way. And you just know it's going to be the most terrifying choice. So yes, King Alvin of Made-Up-Ware Landburg is has suspicions, rather, that Baron Toad Fettle of Made-Up Province is about to betray him, and you have to work out what he's doing and which of Alvin's loyal knights is going to be imprisoned in his castle. So yes, this one has magic, and you know how I was saying they always contrive reasons to have photographs? Well, this wizard, Haggard, was that meant to be? No, it couldn't be. This wasn't printed. Was this printed before Harry Potter? Oh, okay, whatever. But he has the power to reach into the future and bring back a camera and photograph all of the key players so you know who they are. See, there they are. Take in the anachronisms, internet. Take it in. This one is quite limited, again, because it's trying to tell a story from another time, and but actually this one actually does it very well. I don't know if they've managed to get in touch with any real-life castles to borrow their artifacts or anything. But this is very well set out. Oh god, I hated this one. You have to look for something in here. They don't tell you what it is. What you're looking for is a red gem, which is apparently disguised on a piece of cloth, but I could never see it. I think it's meant to be this weird diamond shape here, but that's clearly just a fold in the cloth. Also, apparently Haggard uses his time travel technology to bring back popcorn for the Baron, a clear abuse of time travel. So that's the 6 stories. Like I say, I love these so much that I would later use the powers of eBay to bring them here. And the story doesn't stop there. There was a second series heavily inspired by this, but I'm going to talk about that next time. So yeah, if you do see these books, or like I said, if you see one of the 6 original component books, which are sort of very thin and have similar covers to this one, I would recommend you get them, because they are very imaginative storylines and very clever puzzles.